Unreal Indonesia. Its most amazing water-shaped escapes. More than 17,000 islands, yet the Gilis have no large rivers supplying fresh water. The route to Lake Toba exposes how tourism depends on water it can degrade. Across Indonesia, water does more than frame the land. Warm currents feed reefs. Monsoon rain drives rivers over cliffs. Volcanic basins hold immense lakes. Yet freshwater must be captured. Waves batter exposed shores, and crowded destinations strain wells and coastlines. My position is clear. Tourism earns its place only when it protects water from forest ridge to coral reef. In this video, we follow that water through the Gilis, Nusa Penida, Wakatobi, Tumpak Sewu, and Lake Toba to test whether growth can preserve what made these destinations possible. A spice seed from a remote volcanic cluster once pulled Portuguese, English, and Dutch rivals into the same small harbor. Nutmeg and mace grew in the Banda Islands in commercial quantity found nowhere else, while European markets prized them as spice and medicine. That value drew a hard monopoly. In 1621, Dutch East India Company forces, under Jan Pieter Zoon, Cohen displaced much of the Bandanese population and imposed plantation estates through coercive labor. Fort Belgica and Fort Nassau still command Banda Neira beside colonial houses, warehouses, and former plantation sites. These structures controlled spice, labor, and shipping. The contest reached far beyond Maluku. Under the Treaty of Breda in 1667, England gave up Run, while the Dutch accepted English control of New Netherland. That exchange is the detail I keep returning to. One tiny nutmeg island carried enough leverage to enter a transoceanic bargain. Nutmeg now returns the story to human hands. Growers open the fruit, separate red mace from the seed, then dry both for sale in gardens and plantations. Boats bind these working landscapes to fishing grounds, historic settlements, reefs, and dive sites. Deep water divides the islands, but every crossing also connects them. Above the harbor, Gunung Api applies another pressure. Its 1988 eruption damaged settlements and pushed lava into the sea. Coral communities later developed on that new rock. The volcano changed the shoreline, then supplied fresh rock for coral beneath the water. That recovery makes the reef more than scenery. It is living habitat beside the same water routes that now carry visitors. A reef growing on new lava is an image of recovery, not a license for pressure. Tourism must protect the full chain from volcanic slope and nutmeg garden to harbor and reef. The Indian Ocean decides when one of Bali's most famous temples can be reached on foot. At low tide, exposed rock leads toward Tanah Lot. At high tide, the channel fills and the shrine is cut off from shore. This is not scenery around a monument. Water controls access, strips the rock, and redraws the temple within hours. Generally linked to the 16th century priest Dang Hyang Nirartha, the shrine belongs to Bali's chain of coastal temples, shaped by protection, purification, and the force of the sea. Local tradition places guardian sea snakes among the rocks. More surprising is a sacred freshwater spring near the base, inside the marine environment. That detail holds my attention. Fresh water and salt water do not merely share a boundary here. Together, they shape worship on the same exposed rock. The upper temple is reserved for worship, not ordinary sightseeing. In ceremonies, priests, offerings, umbrellas, music, and processions reclaim a fact that sunset photographs flatten. This is working sacred ground. But devotion alone cannot hold back the surf. By the 20th century, erosion threatened the platform and forced major reinforcement and restoration. Engineers rebuilt vulnerable sections to resemble original stone. The concealed defense had to preserve the outcrop's familiar form while absorbing relentless ocean pressure. Pressure also arrives from land. Sunset crowds, vendors, parking, buses, drainage, and waste now converge on one small coastal edge. Nearby, Batu Belong and the cliff paths show that this is a coastal temple landscape, not an isolated icon. Protection must follow runoff from developed ground to the sea. Spring, tide, worship, reinforced stone, and ocean meet in one silhouette. Its beauty survives only while tourism respects the working coast behind the image. The waves that made the Mentawai Islands famous are focused by the same reefs that tourism can weaken. Running parallel to Sumatra's west coast, the chain faces open Indian Ocean swell with no mainland shelter. Offshore reefs bend incoming energy into powerful, hollow breaks. But swell, wind, tide, and reef depth decide which break can be used safely and when. Reaching them often means long boat transfers across exposed water. Remoteness protects the islands from easy access, then turns fuel, supplies, healthcare, and emergency response into a hard logistical test. Yet surfing is only the seaward edge. On Siberut, rivers cut through swamp forest and rainforest toward villages and a coast shaped by long isolation. That ridge-to-reef link carries consequences downstream. When interior forest is broken, erosion and runoff move toward villages and coastal reefs. Logging, roads, and plantations press into that interior. At the coast, reef damage and tourism waste compound the strain, while rising seas add another slow pressure. The human landscape is equally complex. Communal uma houses, forest-based knowledge, tattooing known as titi, and sikare ritual specialists remain active traditions, not staged displays from the past. Families also navigate schools, churches, phones, wage work, government, and regional markets. Cultural visits require consent because isolation never makes a community a public exhibit. Beneath all of this, The Sunda megathrust stores immense pressure. Earthquakes and tsunamis recur, and the 2010 Mentawai tsunami brought severe loss to coastal communities. The same distance that sustains distinctive wildlife and culture also raises the cost of conservation. Moving supplies and emergency support across open water drives those costs higher. The bargain is severe. Tourism earns its place only by protecting forest, river, reef, and the communities exposed between them. At low tide, Belitung gains paths that rising water removes. Sandbars and shallow channels open walking routes among ancient granite blocks. Rising water turns the same coast into a network of small boat passages. The rock is ancient, but the coastline never holds one shape. Weathering rounded immense blocks, while fractures cut narrow passages, sheltered pools and coves. Water decides which routes exist. Traditional fishing craft and island-hopping boats move among reefs, mangroves, lighthouses, and granite outcrops, adjusting each passage to wind and tide. This is what fixes Belitung in my mind. The sea does not merely surround the island, it repeatedly redraws access to it. Inland, another force has cut much deeper. Tin mining expanded under colonial rule and continued after independence, excavating soil and leaving pits that fill with intensely colored water. The color can distract from the harder fact. Abandoned workings, loose sediment, and damaged vegetation demand long-term rehabilitation. Tin still supports livelihoods and industry, so rehabilitation must also preserve income. Pepper gardens, fishing villages, and newer tourism businesses provide other ways to earn. Then, culture changed the island's reach. The novel Laskar Pelangi, published in 2005 and filmed 3 years later, centered children and an under-resourced school. It reshaped Belitung's image within Indonesia and drew visitors to associated places. New attention widened opportunity, but also increased pressure on waste handling, freshwater, reefs, and coastal construction. Rehabilitation inland and restraint along the coast now form one job: protect drainage routes, mangroves, and reefs as one connected chain. Belitung's next chapter depends on two linked acts: respect the tide and repair mined land before tourism adds another layer of damage. The animal that made Bukit Lawang famous spends most of its life above the ground, while the village economy gathers beside a fast river. An orangutan rehabilitation program began here in the 1970s, and formal releases ended in the 1990s. That history still shapes the forest margin. Some semi-wild orangutans and their descendants remain accustomed to people, while fully wild animals may range deeper inside Gunung Leuser National Park. No encounter is guaranteed. Sumatran orangutans follow seasonal fruit through the canopy and build a new sleeping nest from branches and leaves. The harder truth lies under that spectacle. Feeding or crowding an orangutan can change its behavior, and close contact can pass illness between people and animals. Ethical viewing therefore depends on trained guides, controlled distance, and extra caution around mothers with young. Tourism earns access only by refusing the shortcut of forced proximity. The forest itself sets the terms. Routes climb through steep mud, exposed roots, heavy humidity, river crossings, and sudden tropical rain. Gibbons, macaques, hornbills, insects, and dense plant life reveal that orangutans are only one part of this forest. Outside protected forest, logging, roads, plantations, and broken habitat cut the continuity these animals need. Below, the Bohorok River supports swimming, tubing, transport, and village businesses when conditions are safe. It turns intact upstream forest and reliable drainage into daily income. The same river can carry extreme pressure. A flash flood in 2003 showed what intense rain and debris can drive through a steep watershed. The Bohorok makes the bargain visible. Village prosperity downstream depends on keeping the forested watershed whole. Indonesia's largest Hindu temple compound stands on ground that has repeatedly shifted beneath it. Built in the 9th century on the central Java plain, Prambanan's central tower rises nearly 50 meters, with volcanic Mount Merapi visible beyond the complex. Originally, hundreds of shrines filled concentric courts. Many survive as ordered piles, each stone awaiting the evidence and skilled work needed for reconstruction. At the center, the tallest temple honors Shiva. Major temples for Vishnu and Brahma stand beside it, while smaller chambers hold associated sacred figures and vehicles. This was more than height for display. Builders turned stone height and repeated forms into a physical map of sacred order, scaled to dominate the plain. The inner galleries carry the Ramayana through scenes of courts, forests, conflict, and Sita's separation and return. The story unfolds through movement around the temple, not through a single image. A local legend gives the ruins another explanation. Princess Roro Jonggrang demanded 1,000 temples in one night, then became stone after deceiving the suitor she did not want. Geology offers the harder test. The Central Java earthquake in 2006 displaced stones, damaged structures, and forced extensive stabilization and restoration. Prambanan is not a sealed ruin. It remains an active Hindu ceremonial site as well as a UNESCO World Heritage Property. The Ramayana also leaves the stone galleries. Nearby performances recast it through Javanese dance, costume, gamelan, light, and disciplined movement. Outdoors, weather decides whether the temple silhouette joins the stage. The same rain that can cancel a performance makes drainage and sound masonry part of keeping 9th century stone alive. One of Indonesia's richest protected seas is defended by distance, yet that same distance makes every patrol and waste run harder. Wakatobi links 4 main islands, Wangi Wangi, Kaladupa, Tomia, and Binonko, across a vast field of reefs, atolls, channels, and deep drop-offs. Its name takes its opening syllables from those islands, but the park reaches farther. Smaller islands, mangroves, seagrass, and open water. Currents do the heavy work. They carry larvae and nutrients along reef walls, while depth separates shallow coral gardens from zones used by turtles and sharks. That motion also sets the terms for people. It can shift quickly, so boat crews and dive guides rely on close knowledge of tides, weather, and local channels. Near shore, seagrass feeds marine life and shelters young animals. Mangrove roots brace the coast and shield juvenile fish before they reach the reef. The sea is not a backdrop here. It supports fishing, seaweed farms, boat building, transport, hospitality, and diving, trades drawing value from the water. Bajo communities have organized life around that reality for generations. Stilt settlements and boat routes carry hard-earned knowledge, even as schools, markets, and public services reshape settlements. Wakatobi's contradiction is structural. Remoteness protects habitat, but raises the cost of fuel, medical access, waste removal, and enforcement. Tourism adds another load. More boats, more supplies, and more plastic press against reefs already facing warming water, coral bleaching, damage from harmful fishing, and overharvesting. Growth can work only if its benefits reach coastal communities, and its waste never outruns the island's ability to remove it. In Wakatobi, the measure of growth is concrete. Whether mangrove roots, community waters, and the outer reef remain alive. Bali's largest temple sanctuary stands beneath the active volcano that gives the slope fertile water and recurring danger. More than 80 temples and shrines climb terraces on Mount Agung's southwestern flank. Besaki is not one monument. It is a working network of compounds tied to particular clans, communities, deities, and ritual duties. Pura Penataran Agung forms the ceremonial core. Split gates, stone stairways, courtyards, towers, and tiered Meru roofs channel movement uphill toward Bali's highest and most sacred mountain. That ascent is controlled rather than open. Outer, middle, and inner ritual spaces set boundaries, so visitor access cannot be unrestricted. Sarongs, respectful movement, and sensitivity to prayer are not decorative customs. They protect the purpose of a sanctuary still used by worshippers. Mount Agung is treated as a spiritual axis and a source of fertile water. At Besaki, terraces bind that mountain power to clan identity, agriculture, and ceremony. Lava crossed surrounding areas during the major eruption of 1963, but passed close to the sanctuary. That strengthened Besaki's symbolic weight for many Balinese. Later eruptions disrupted villages, roads, ceremonies, and air travel. A sacred mountain can nourish the slope and shut down modern movement with the same physical force. Festival days reveal the labor required to sustain the complex. Worshippers carry fruit, flowers, rice, and woven palm decorations, while priests conduct prayers. Families, musicians, drivers, vendors, and temple workers sustain the event beyond the central rites. Ceremony at this scale needs transport, preparation, timing, and disciplined access. At Besaki, responsible tourism begins by accepting sacred boundaries and protecting the water source joining volcano, field, worship, and work. A hereditary royal court still holds political authority inside a modern city of universities, traffic, and new construction. The Sultan remains both head of the court and governor of Yogyakarta's special region. Inside the Kraton, royal residence and public institution occupy the same walls. Palace employees maintain ceremonies, etiquette, gamelan, classical dance, shadow puppetry, batik, and poetry. This culture is not sealed behind glass. Students, artists, craftspeople, vendors, and court staff keep renegotiating what Javanese heritage means inside a congested, expanding city. Malioboro Street makes that pressure visible. Food stalls, batik sellers, performers, shops, and traffic compete along one public corridor where tradition must earn space every day. The city's water story sits behind palace walls. Taman Sari preserves part of an 18th century royal garden and water complex, built when control of water also expressed royal order. But water here also carries force from higher ground. Mount Merapi rises north of the city, sending ash and occasional volcanic mud flows into settled valleys. Heavy rain can load those routes with loose ash and debris. Drainage channels and upstream slopes are therefore not background scenery. They are part of the city's defenses. The ground adds another warning. The earthquake of 2006 caused severe destruction across the region, proving how quickly dense settlement can magnify natural pressure. Yogyakarta once carried national pressure as well. It served as the Republican capital during part of the independence struggle in the late 1940s. Borobudur and Prambanan draw movement through this hub, but Yogyakarta is not merely their waiting room. Palace, volcano, and city share one watershed. Tourism growth is defensible only while upper slopes, drainage routes, and freshwater remain intact. The volcano that dominates East Java's dawn view is not the tallest peak in its own basin. Bromo stands below several surrounding summits inside the Tengah caldera, yet its open crater and frequent emissions make it the landscape's center. The basin floor is a broad field of ash and sand, known as the Sea of Sand. Beside Bromo, symmetrical Mount Batok sharpens the contrast. Movement begins before dawn. Jeeps climb toward viewpoints around Mount Penanjakan, compressing much of the visitor economy into a few cold, uncertain hours. Cloud decides what the morning reveals. Bromo and distant Mount Semeru may rise clearly above the basin, or disappear behind shifting cover. Then the route drops onto the caldera floor. Engines, horses, and people cross the loose plain before the final stairway reaches the crater rim. Access is never guaranteed. Gas, ash, or stronger eruptive activity can close the route, a hard reminder that tourism operates only while the volcano permits it. For the Tengarese, that force is not scenery alone. This Hindu highland community regards Bromo as sacred. During Yajna Kasada, offerings are carried across the sand and cast into the crater, continuing a tradition tied to Tengar ancestors. The same basin now supports drivers, horse handlers, food sellers, guides, and homestays. Dawn brings income, but concentrated convoys also bring dust, noise, congestion, and erosion. That trade-off matters because repeated crossings wear loose ground away. Managing routes and vehicle pressure is not cosmetic work. It protects access, livelihoods, and ritual space. Even here, water has a direct role. Cloud governs visibility above an active volcanic basin. At Bromo, access remains conditional. Protect the ridge and its drainage routes, and leave the Tengarese ritual center intact. The world's largest Buddhist temple is also a vast machine for shedding tropical rain. 6 square terraces, 3 circular levels, and 1 central stupa lift an open stone monument above Central Java's fertile Kedu plain. Built under the Sailendra dynasty in the 8th and 9th centuries, Borobudur is a stepped mandala, not an enclosed worship hall. Its architecture demands movement. The intended route turns clockwise through the monument. Dense narrative reliefs give way, level by level, to increasingly open space around the summit. More than 2,600 carved panels carry Buddhist teachings beside ships, courtly scenes, villages, animals, and ordinary work. They preserve a Java measured not only by rulers, but by labor and daily life. Hundreds of Buddha figures occupy niches and perforated stupas. Faith, sculpture, and structural order were locked into the same climb. The setting is no accident. Volcanic mountains and the Minore Hills frame a fertile plain, while seasonal rain feeds the land and strikes the monument. Water is therefore both source and threat. Tropical rain can penetrate the stonework, making drainage essential to the monument's long-term stability. When political centers shifted and volcanic deposits accumulated, Borobudur was gradually abandoned. Its return required archaeology, heavy engineering, and international cooperation. During the 20th century, a major conservation project dismantled and rebuilt sections, then improved the drainage that protects the visible stone. The pressure has not ended. Volcanic ash and biological growth test the carvings, while heavy foot traffic adds stone wear. Borobudur now carries 4 roles: World Heritage Site, national symbol, major tourism destination, and active pilgrimage ground during Vesak. Borobudur gives the water story an inland foundation. Magnificent stone survives through respected drainage, active worship, and firm physical limits. On Nusa Penida, Tropical rain slips through limestone almost as soon as it falls. Across the Badung Strait from Bali, Nusa Penida rises as an uplifted limestone plateau, where rain drains quickly through porous rock. That geology sets the limit before tourism begins. Fresh water must be stored and distributed across a dry interior, while visitor facilities add demand to a supply that cannot easily grow. Fast boats deliver visitors to small landing points. From there, narrow roads climb ridges and steep valleys, carrying residents, supplies, and rising traffic toward a few celebrated headlands. Kelingking draws visitors to a narrow ridge above the coast known as T-Rex Bay. Below it, the route to the exposed beach is steep, hot and loose underfoot. At Broken Beach, a sea arch shows what waves can cut through limestone. Nearby natural pools can turn hazardous when large swells overtop their edges. Offshore, the pressure grows stronger. Powerful channels in the Indonesian throughflow drive currents past the island, while seasonal upwelling pulls cooler, nutrient-rich water toward the reefs. That movement supports coral, manta rays, turtles, and seasonal ocean sunfish. It also leaves little margin for inexperience. Skilled boat operators and divers are essential here. The island is not only a viewpoint economy. Seaweed farming, fishing, temples, and village agriculture still hold communities to land and water, even as tourism shifts employment and land values. Rapid construction now tests every link: roads, waste handling, cliff safety, and fresh water supply. Development on the plateau cannot be separated from what eventually reaches the coast and reefs. Development on the plateau will be judged at the coast by whether freshwater, drainage routes, villages, and reefs remain healthy together. The world's largest living lizard survives on islands where fresh water is scarce, yet the surrounding sea overflows with life. Komodo National Park spans Komodo, Rinca, Padar, and smaller islands between Sumbawa and Flores. Dry ground locked inside narrow, fast-moving straits. Created in 1980 and later recognized by UNESCO, the park protects the dragon's principal habitat: savanna, monsoon forest, rocky valleys, and limited freshwater. That shortage shapes every movement. Dragons conserve energy, blend into the ground, and wait, while younger animals often climb trees to avoid larger ones. Their scale can distract from the harder truth. This is not a tame attraction, and guided trails with ranger supervision keep tourism inside firm limits. The park changes below the shoreline. Tight channels squeeze powerful currents between islands, mixing warm tropical water with nutrient-rich flows. That pressure sustains coral, seagrass, manta rays, turtles, sharks, and dense schools of fish. It also tests boats and divers. Beauty here is driven by force. Even the pink beaches carry the reef onto land, their color coming from red coral fragments and microscopic reef material. The dragon, the beach and the reef, are not separate attractions. They occupy one water chain, from seasonal rain to coastal currents. Tourism now presses on that chain. More arrivals mean greater demand for scarce fresh water, more plastic waste, and heavier traffic through sensitive marine corridors. Fishing traditions and local access must also hold their place, even as illegal harvesting, reef damage, and climate-driven coral stress tighten the margin. Komodo's real achievement is larger than one famous reptile. It protects the chain from dry ridge to living reef, keeping this astonishing water-shaped Indonesia intact. Water links Bali's active volcanoes, rice terraces, Hindu temples, crowded towns, and reef-lined bays, yet every link now carries more pressure. Below Mount Agung and Mount Batur, rainfall and springs enter channels that divide the supply among terraced rice fields. The channels are only the hardware. Farmers coordinate planting, maintenance, and allocation through subak associations linked to a network of water temples. This is farming, civic discipline, and ritual carried in the same stream. Its rule is balance, expressed through the Balinese Hindu principle of Trihita Karana. Volcanic soil supports intensive cultivation, yet the mountains keep their leverage. Eruptions and ashfall can interrupt farming, aviation, and village life at once. From those slopes, water cuts through forests and ravines, feeds waterfalls, and moves toward a coast that never keeps one form. Dark volcanic beaches occupy one stretch. Elsewhere, pale sand, limestone headlands, surf breaks, and reef-fringed bays take the force of the tropical sea. Ubud shows the pressure inland. Royal compounds, workshops, markets, dance venues, and ordinary streets now share limited space with congested visitor routes. Shrines and village temples keep ceremony inside daily life. Larger processions can redirect traffic and work. The sacred landscape is not sealed off from the working island. Tourism supports livelihoods, but each expansion adds weight. More land, more groundwater, more waste, and more coastal construction. The beauty creates demand that can weaken its own foundations. Across Bali, beauty and pressure travel together in the same water. Growth remains viable only when it protects the entire route from volcanic ridge to reef. Three tiny islands shall escape, yet every glass of fresh water exposes how little room that escape has. Gili Trawangan, Gili Meno, and Gili Air have no large rivers. Their small groundwater reserves are vulnerable to salt intrusion. The sea links them to Lombok and Bali, carrying visitors, food, fuel, and building materials through small landing points. Everything arrives by boat, and much of the waste must leave the same way. Conventional motor traffic has traditionally been excluded from the roads. Feet, bicycles, electric vehicles, and horse-drawn sidomo share lanes where even routine movement must fit into very limited space. That quiet is not effortless. Freight, construction, animals, and a visitor population that can greatly outnumber permanent residents still press against the same narrow shore. Trawangan carries the busiest lodging and nightlife economy. Mano turns toward low-density stays and an inland salt lake, while Air holds homes, restaurants, and dive businesses in a tighter balance. Offshore, shallow reefs and seagrass feed that economy. Green and hawksbill turtles, reef fish, and corals show why the sea supports so much island income. But boat traffic can crowd the reef. Anchors can damage coral, while inexperienced swimmers add pressure to the habitat that diving and snorkeling depend on. Pressure returns on shore. Limited sewage treatment and difficult waste disposal can push the cost of tourism back into groundwater and coastal water. The Lombok earthquakes of 2018 exposed the deeper weakness. When transport and basic services falter, a compact island economy has almost no spare ground or spare route. On islands with no spare ground, freshwater reserves, working lanes, and living reefs must be managed as one system. A road to a Bali beach has cut through an ancient reef lifted high above the sea. At Tanah Barak, the narrow approach runs between tall, pale walls of coral limestone before opening onto the exposed southern coast. The cut is more than an entrance. It exposes the Bukit Peninsula's structure, drier and more exposed than Bali's volcanic interior. Tectonic movement raised old reef limestone. Modern roadwork then cut a direct passage through rock that had long restricted access. That is the central paradox. The road reveals geological force with unusual clarity, yet every easier arrival adds pressure to the shoreline. Rain runoff scours the exposed faces. Roots enter cracks. Weathering loosens surfaces, and traffic turns rock stability and maintenance into practical concerns. Water continues the work beyond the road. The tide expands and contracts the usable sand, while strong swell and currents strike this open coast harder than sheltered bays. The surf may look simple, but it carries a moving load. Road, cliffs, sand, and drainage all answer the same water in different ways. What holds my attention is the route from raised reef to open sea. Uplifted limestone, road drainage, tide, and surf are linked here by one downhill path. Improved access supports small visitor facilities and brings more traffic. It also brings litter, heavier drainage demands, and pressure for further construction. The beach receives whatever the road fails to contain. So the crucial engineering is not only the rock cut, it is restraint, stable walls, controlled drainage, limited building, and waste handling. The road has already opened the coast. Its future value now depends on drainage, limited building, and waste control, keeping that access from consuming the beach. A summit once earned through mud, cold, and a punishing climb can now be approached while suspended above deep mountain valleys. Fansipan rises more than 3,000 meters, the highest point in Vietnam and the wider Indo-Chinese peninsula. Its cable car opened in 2016. Elevation compresses several environments into one ascent. Humid lower forest gives way to bamboo, moss-covered trees, rhododendrons, exposed ridges, then colder summit ground. Before the cable car, local guides led trekkers over steep slopes and slippery routes, with camps along the route, and weather shifting from heat to rain, fog, and cold within hours. That route remains, but the cable line now moves large numbers rapidly across terrain that once demanded sustained effort, turning a mountain barrier into an engineered crossing. From the upper station, stairs, a funicular, terraces, statues, and a modern Buddhist complex direct the final approach. Infrastructure now organizes the ascent. The final approach is still not under full human control. Cloud can erase visibility, wind can harden the climb, and winter sometimes brings frost or snow. This is Fansipan's central tension. Endurance has not vanished. It has been reorganized. Steel handles the valleys, while stairs and weather govern the last ascent. Tourism now supports guides, drivers, vendors, hotel staff, and workers from Sapa and surrounding ethnic minority communities. Easier access spreads income, but it also concentrates demand. Summit construction occupies high ground. Crowds press onto the same terraces and paths, while trail erosion and litter reveal how quickly convenience transfers pressure to the mountain. Fansipan compresses rain, forest, fog, and occasional snow onto one peak. The test is whether engineering can widen access without transferring every cost to the mountain. The calmest-looking water in Lan Ha Bay holds the strongest power. It decides where people can work, build, and pass. Rain and groundwater dissolved ancient limestone over immense spans of time. Then rising seas filled the valleys and isolated hundreds of steep towers. Lan Ha curves around southeastern Cat Ba, beside the wider Ha Long seascape, but its sheltered channels form a separate working geography. Since 2023, both have shared UNESCO World Heritage recognition. Low caves open into enclosed lagoons, yet a route that works at 1 hour may close as tide, wind, or seasonal weather changes. Fishing and aquaculture turn that changing surface into a workplace. Floating structures carry fish cages, equipment, fuel, and household activity, while workboats haul supplies toward island communities and mainland markets. This is practical marine engineering, built without fixed roads. Every platform and hull must absorb wake, salt, shifting loads, and the next sharp change in weather. Tourism adds cruise traffic, kayaks, beach stops, and income. It also adds engine noise, wastewater, plastic and wakes that push against the same floating workplaces it comes to see. The wider archipelago links tropical forest to mangroves and seagrass. On the steepest limestone, the critically endangered Katba langur survives within a range that exists nowhere beyond these islands. Storms and monsoon conditions can close routes and force boats into sheltered anchorages. Protection, therefore, cannot stop at a beach or cave. It must follow water from forest slope to bay. Beauty and dependence occupy the same channels. More visitors are viable only if clean water, quiet habitat, and community access remain stronger than the traffic. Beneath these forested ridges, water has opened passages vast enough to contain rivers, beaches, and isolated forest. It has worked through fractured limestone for hundreds of millions of years, dissolving rock and enlarging the underground roots that still carry rain. The Sun River provides the gentlest entrance. Boats pass into Phong Na Cave, crossing the line where open valley becomes a dark water corridor. Paradise Cave is reached overland and holds immense dry chambers. Farther away, demanding expeditions meet fast rivers, underground beaches, collapsed ceilings, and shafts open to daylight. Sondung contains some of the largest known cave passages on Earth. Reaching its remote chambers takes trained guides, porters, safety gear, and several days. That limit matters. A cave this large can appear indestructible, yet every lamp, footpath, road, and load of waste pushes human pressure deeper underground. Above ground, tropical forest grips sharp ridges and shelters primates, birds, and species confined to narrow habitats. Those rain-soaked ridges stand directly over the cave network. Heavy rain can reverse the promise of easy access within hours. Rivers rise, entrances flood, and routes close. Here, the season still overrules the timetable. The ridges also carry the difficult legacy of the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Hazardous wartime remnants still restrict movement in parts of the region. UNESCO recognition reflects both geology and biodiversity, but it does not settle the argument over growth. More visitors, new roads, waste, and proposals for easier access all test what this limestone can absorb. Here, the ridge-to-water chain is literal. Forest rain enters river, cave, and valley. Damage the ridge or its drainage, and the underground world receives the cost. One of China's great imperial building campaigns succeeded by refusing to flatten the mountain. During the Ming Dynasty, palaces, temples, gates, bridges, and paths were fitted to Wudang's cliffs and terraces, while the bronze-covered Golden Hall claimed the summit. Wudang became a major Taoist center, backed by emperors who joined sacred architecture to imperial power. Their construction honored Zhenwu, the perfected warrior associated with the north, water, and protection. Placement did the real work. Buildings did not erase the terrain. Roots turned around cliffs, crossed ravines, entered forest, and revealed each complex in stages. Purple Cloud Palace occupies a terrace. Higher above, the bronze-covered Golden Hall caps the summit, exposed to mist, lightning, rain, and hard mountain weather. This union of architecture, topography, and sacred orientation helped earn Wudang UNESCO recognition. It also created a preservation task with no easy ground. Timber halls age, slopes shift, fire, landslides, and storms can damage work that has endured for centuries. The mountain is also bound to internal martial arts and the legendary Zhang Sanfeng. Popular origin stories remain powerful, though their historical evidence is limited. That gap matters because mass media can turn a living religious center into a single martial arts image. Wudang still supports ritual, medicine, breathing disciplines, monastic practice, and training. Tourist demonstrations and commerce now share narrow spaces with worship. Buses and cableways shorten the climb, but channel crowds toward paths and terraces never designed for modern traffic. Preservation cannot freeze Wudang as a museum. It must keep worship active, repair historic fabric, control commerce, and move crowds without widening scars on the slopes. Wudang's strongest architecture shows restraint. Its greatest display of imperial power was not a flattened peak, but a summit reached on the mountain's terms. The river that gave an imperial capital its order still pushes against its walls. For nearly a century and a half, Nguyen rulers governed from Hu, where the Perfume River, a broad moat and massive ramparts, shaped ceremony and defense. This was landscape engineering with a political purpose. Gates narrowed movement, courtyards ranked access, and the imperial city placed authority behind layer after layer of brick, timber, and water. Inside stood audience halls, temples, residences, gardens, and the forbidden Purple City. Their arrangement turned distance into rank. Every threshold controlled who could move closer to the court. The plan did not stop at the walls. The Perfume River carried the capital outward toward Tianmu Pagoda and the imperial tombs, binding government, worship, and the surrounding hills to one water route. Then the structure met pressures no imperial planner could fully contain. 20th century conflict, especially in 1968, caused major structural losses, leaving restoration to work from fragments. Nature applies a slower force. Tropical storms drive rain into roofs and walls. Humidity feeds decay. Termites consume timber. Recurrent floods test foundations, drains, and restored surfaces. UNESCO listed the complex as World Heritage in 1993, but status does not keep water out. Conservators must rebuild without turning damaged sections into replicas or sealing old materials inside unsuitable repairs. Hue also survives beyond masonry. Royal court music, ceremonial dress, garden houses, incense workshops, river transport, and highly developed cuisine keep imperial memory in daily use. Water fixed Hugh's geometry, carried its rituals, and still decides how much of this political landscape can endure. Thousands of Buddhist figures survive on a cliff whose sandstone is too soft for fine monumental carving. Nearly 200 caves cut across the near vertical hill, linked by elevated galleries far above the valley floor. Work began around the 4th and 5th centuries, as Buddhism moved through trade and pilgrimage routes now grouped under the Silk Roads. Successive dynasties kept cutting, building, and repairing. The hill's shape was compared to a stack of wheat, but its exposed face offered no gentle work site. Workers had to haul tools, timber, and clay high above the valley before a single shrine could take form. Soft local sandstone imposed a hard limit. Instead of relying on fine monumental carving, craftspeople built wooden supports and modeled clay over them. That choice produced expressive faces, layered robes, attendants, bodhisattvas, and large assembly scenes. It also left the art acutely exposed to moisture and temperature change. Movement across Maijishan reveals the engineering argument. Narrow stairs and galleries do not merely connect caves. They show how devotion had to master height. Earthquakes repeatedly damaged the cliff and stripped away parts of the original access network. Every surviving chamber therefore records creation and repeated repair. Rain and wind keep working on the same weak stone. Salts, damp, and temperature change affect clay and paint, while water entering the sandstone can undermine work preserved for centuries. Even human breath adds pressure. Visitor humidity can affect clay and pigment, so vulnerable caves require restricted access, structural monitoring, and tight control of drainage. Access exposes Maijishan's central contradiction. The galleries reveal the caves, while visitor humidity threatens their most vulnerable clay and paint. Maijishan endures when admiration accepts limits and water is stopped before it enters the cliff, the hard bargain that keeps a civilization visible. Yunnan's largest Tibetan Buddhist monastery rises where thin air, winter cold, and timber make every large building harder to sustain. Songzanlin stands near Shangri-La at roughly 3,300 meters, a dense complex of halls and residences founded in the 17th century. Its scale was never only architectural. As a Gelug center, it linked study, worship, and surrounding highland communities in one working institution. Whitewashed walls and gilded roofs carry the public image, but daily continuity rests on less visible labor. Monks study, chant, debate, tend offerings and butter lamps, turn prayer wheels, and maintain vast buildings in a cold climate. Steep stairs turn altitude into a physical test. Courtyards, assembly halls, dark timber, and monks' residences are packed above Lamuyangkuo Lake and nearby settlements. Lamuyangkuo Lake below reveals the wider structure. The monastery rises above water and nearby settlements, while seasonal snow and light repeatedly alter access and working conditions. Ceremonies widen that connection. Monks, families, and pilgrims gather with music, incense, and regional dress, so the monastery functions as more than a preserved shell. Songsanlin is not an untouched survival. It was severely damaged during the Cultural Revolution, then rebuilt and restored. That rupture changes the meaning of preservation. The complex carries continuity because people rebuilt practice and structure, not because history left it alone. Tourism now adds paved access, ticketing, buses, shops, and large visitor flows. These routes expand access, but also sharpen crowding, commercialization, fire risk, timber decay, and pressure on religious space. Protection has two jobs: keep timber, roofs, and courtyards sound, and keep active worship from being reduced to a tourist display. Songsanlin endures when monastery, lake, settlement, and highland life remain connected. A Buddha about 70 meters high was cut into a river cliff because the water below was too turbulent to ignore. For about 90 years in the Tang dynasty, generations carved above the confluence of the Min, Dadu, and Qingyi rivers, then an active transport route. The project is traditionally tied to the monk Hai Tong. He hoped the presence of Maitreya Buddha would protect boats passing through turbulent water. Belief set the purpose. Engineering carried it through as workers removed stone, shaped a seated body, and managed debris on a cliff above moving traffic. Its feet sit near river level. Its head rises above the tree-covered cliff. Even beside one feature, a human body appears minute. Scale changes with position. Boats reveal the full seated figure from the confluence. Cliff stairs break it into a head, hands, knees, and feet. Yet the most important engineering is hidden. Channels built into the hair, collar, chest, and back carry rain away from vulnerable sandstone. That drainage network does not decorate the Buddha. It keeps water from settling into the same stone that gives the figure its mass. Water created the need for Leshan, and water remains its main pressure. Rain, river flooding, humidity, and plant growth drive cracking and discoloration. Air pollution adds another load, while weak sandstone limits every repair. Conservators must stabilize the cliff and control drainage without scrubbing away the historic surface. UNESCO recognized the Buddha with nearby Mount Emi in 1996, linking monument and mountain. The reversal is exact. Turbulent water gave the monument its purpose. Controlled water now keeps its historic surface intact. Scale draws the eye. Maintenance carries Tang ambition into the present. One of Southeast Asia's most recognizable landscapes is not untouched wilderness. It is a working marine corridor, squeezed between stone, weather, and traffic. UNESCO recognition began in 1994, and international attention grew around channels already carrying fishing boats and local communities. Tourism now shares those narrow passages with fishing and community traffic. The drowned karst geology continues from Lanha. Uplift and dissolution formed ridges and sinkholes. Then flooding turned them into towers, enclosed lakes, and traffic funneling channels. Tradition says a descending dragon formed the valleys as it protected the country. The geology took far longer, but both accounts place water at the center. Modern movement is tightly directed. Cruise boats leave designated harbors, pass fixed clusters of towers, anchor near Sungsat Cave, then continue toward beaches, viewpoints, or community areas. Around Kua Van, the bay is not scenery detached from labor. Fishing, rowing, guiding, cooking, boat maintenance, and overnight cruise operations support a large workforce on the water. Mist and rain can erase visibility. Summer heat and tides alter daily operations. Typhoons can close the bay, sending vessels back toward controlled shelter. On busy days, heavy vessel traffic concentrates in narrow routes. Wastewater, plastic, shoreline development, and repeated wake then weaken water quality and the quiet atmosphere sold by tourism. That makes management part of the landscape, not an office concern. Harbor rules, waste control, and limits on concentrated visitation must protect every route from limestone slope to open gulf. Halong's contradiction is visible in every busy channel. The water carries livelihoods and global fame, then absorbs the pressure created by both. Clean water is the condition of a credible future. A pilgrimage mountain can be weakened by the very roads built to open it. Stone stairways once governed almost every ascent of Mount Juhua. Paved roads and cableways now lift elderly pilgrims in large groups through the same steep terrain. Juhua is one of China's 4 sacred Buddhist mountains. Its identity centers on Dizang, the bodhisattva linked to vows of compassion. That devotion grew around Kim Chaojue, traditionally a Korean prince who became a monk there in the Tang period. Followers later regarded him as an embodiment of Dizang. Juhua is not one shrine on one summit. Huacheng, Baisui, and higher sanctuaries occupy separate elevations among villages, granite peaks, bamboo, pine, and cloud. Pilgrimage becomes movement. Worshippers climb, burn incense, leave offerings, sleep in temple lodgings, then press toward Tiantai Peak. The mountain still sets the terms. Fog erases distance, rain slicks stone, winter ice grips the steps, and steep paths slow every load. Modern access changes who can complete the route, but it also concentrates pressure. Narrow terraces must absorb crowds, vehicles, waste, and new construction. Golden roofs and monumental devotional art dominate the image, yet an active economy sustains them. Monks, shopkeepers, drivers, porters, and residents keep the pilgrimage moving. The cost is physical. Incense and crowded buildings raise fire risk, while heavy feet, rain, and careless building accelerate erosion. If commerce spreads without restraint, sacred ground becomes a scenic product. Yet access also supports worship and local livelihoods, so preservation cannot simply shut the mountain down. Juhua demands control, protect forest, manage waste, restrain construction, and preserve the old route as more than a shortcut between attractions. Discipline, not spectacle, sustains Juhua. The mountain remains sacred only while its forests and old routes stay stronger than the traffic climbing them. A mountain too steep for machines has been turned into a chain of shallow reservoirs. Across Muchang Chai, generations of Hmong farmers have cut terraces along the contours, holding runoff behind earthen walls. This is not decoration laid over the mountains. It is working water infrastructure, built plot by plot and maintained by hand. Streams are diverted into narrow channels. Farmers clear sediment, adjust gates, repair banks, then pass water from the highest fields to those below. Each wall must hold enough water for rice, yet release enough to protect the next terrace. One weak bank can send pressure through the entire slope. The agricultural year exposes this control. Empty plots fill during the water season. Planting turns them green, summer thickens the crop, and autumn brings broad bands of grain. I find the beauty convincing because it is never separate from labor. Transplanting, harvesting, carrying, and buffalo work continue where large machinery cannot hold the slope. The roads reveal the same physical limits. Around Lapantan, Chechuna, and Deshufin, sharp bends, fog, and heavy rain can slow every movement. Khao Pha Pass opens access, but it does not tame the mountain. Intense rain can breach terrace walls, strip exposed soil, and unsettle planting schedules. Tourism adds income through homestays, guides, meals, photography, and improved roads. It also concentrates pressure at the narrowest viewpoints and along active fields. Drones, litter, and trespass may look minor beside a whole valley. For a farmer repairing banks or timing irrigation, each intrusion lands inside the workplace. Muchang Chai holds its power because water, earth, and human endurance remain locked together. When that working chain is protected, the astonishing beauty survives because the harvest does. A landscape that appears almost untouched depends on tightly managed boat traffic, protected caves, and daily human labor. At Trang An, small rowboats follow regulated routes through flooded valleys and low cave tunnels, while steep limestone towers close around the waterways. The towers were shaped as water-dissolved limestone. Later flooding left isolated cliffs, underground channels, wetlands, and navigable valleys. That geology controls every passage. A rower must read current, water level, weather, and the spacing of other boats before entering a narrow cave, where the ceiling drops close overhead. Timing matters more than power. The hull must stay aligned, and each stroke must respect the boat ahead. Tamkok uses the same water in a more open setting. The Ngo Dong River crosses rice fields, then enters 3 caves beneath the limestone. Its route changes with the farming calendar. Planting, green growth, and harvest remake the banks, while the river remains the transport line through them. Some local rowers control the oars with their feet. The technique reduces strain across repeated journeys, turning endurance into a precise working method. Water also helped shape power on land. More than 1,000 years ago, Hoa Lu used surrounding cliffs and wetlands as natural barriers for a royal capital. Temples and later religious sites remained within this protected ground. Nien Bin is not nature with history added. Rock, water, and rule developed together. Trang An received UNESCO recognition in 2014 as both a cultural and natural property. That status rests on control, not on appearance alone. Boat limits, waste removal, cave protection, and restrained shoreline building keep the calm intact. Fair conditions for rowers matter just as much as clean water. The calm is constructed each day. Clean water, protected caves, controlled boat traffic, and fair conditions for skilled rowers keep it intact. Brick joints almost too thin to see have become one of this sanctuary's hardest modern problems. At Mai Son, fired brick towers raised from roughly the 4th to the 13th century have endured a rain-heavy valley, long abandonment, wartime damage, and repeated repair. The Cham kingdoms made this valley a major religious center, primarily dedicated to Shiva. The Linga linked worship with royal power, so each sanctuary carried both sacred and political weight. The Kalan towers were not simple stacks of brick. Builders formed tight walls, framed them with sandstone doorways, then cut pilasters, flowers, guardians, deities, and mythic animals into the surfaces. Inscriptions in Sanskrit and Cham reveal another network, maritime routes connecting Champa with India and wider Southeast Asia. My son absorbed those ideas, then rebuilt them in a distinct local form. The mountain ring encloses the sanctuary, but it cannot keep water away. Heavy rain enters cracks, plants grip masonry, and unstable ground shifts loads that ancient builders once balanced. Centuries of neglect opened the first gaps. 20th century conflict removed entire temple groups and left deep craters among the towers. Hidden wartime hazards then made later fieldwork far more difficult. UNESCO recognition in 1999 did not simplify the task. Conservators must choose between original fabric, new brick, improved drainage, and the honest admission that some ancient techniques remain uncertain. This is where water becomes the final test. Block a drain, seal a joint badly, or let roots spread across masonry, and repair can accelerate the damage it was meant to stop. Broken masonry is only the visible problem. My son endures through the less visible discipline of managing brick forest growth and runoff without erasing incomplete evidence. A Buddhist sanctuary appears to stand above the weather, yet water controls every stage of the ascent. Mount Eme rises more than 3,000 meters, compressing dense lower forest, cold ridges, heavy rain, cloud, and winter conditions into one mountain. For centuries, temples have fixed a pilgrimage route to these slopes. From Byoguo Temple, the old line climbs through forest, stone stairways, monasteries, and exposed ground toward the golden summit. The route demanded endurance. Pilgrims covered much of it on foot, while monasteries supplied shelter as elevation made the route colder and wetter. Modern access has rewritten that physical bargain. Roads, buses, and cableways now move large crowds uphill, but long stair sections and fast-changing weather still impose hard limits. At the summit, temples and monumental images of Puxian occupy terrain above the cloud deck. This is sacred architecture pushed onto an exposed high ridge, not a monument isolated from nature. The mist can also produce a bright halo around an observer's shadow. Once read through religious experience, the effect comes from a precise meeting of light, droplets, and position. That summit halo depends on a larger vertical chain. Elevation drives temperature and rainfall, packing unusually rich plant and animal life into a compact span. Tibetan macaques expose the cost of careless access. Feeding has trained some animals to close the distance and demand food, while the same food can damage their health. The mountain's protection, therefore, cannot stop at temple walls. It must include forest, wildlife, foot traffic, and the behavior carried upward by mass transport. Shared UNESCO status pairs Mount Eme with the Leshan giant Buddha, a river monument below. That ridge-to-river bond makes this sacred mountain inseparable from water. Indonesia's next tourism era will be shaped by a physical limit. Water cannot absorb endless demand. Resorts and roads can rise quickly. Freshwater reserves, upstream forests, drainage channels, and coral reefs recover far more slowly. When runoff carries waste and soil downhill, pressure crosses every boundary drawn on a map. Protection must therefore follow the full path of water. Forest cover controls the flow above. Rivers carry the consequences downhill. Reefs receive what the land releases. Tourism that ignores those links consumes the foundation of its own success. My judgment is simple. Beauty is no longer enough to measure these destinations. Growth must leave wells reliable, slopes secure, channels clear, and reefs healthy. Indonesia's answer will shape more than tourism. It will test the strength of the world's largest archipelagic country in an age of rising pressure.
Follow the water beyond the view. It shows where tourism earns its place by protecting the forests, fresh water, drainage routes, and reefs that hold an island nation together under pressure.